Shane Jasmine Young, thank you so much for joining us today and for taking time out of your life to contribute to the Women of Strength platform and this podcast. It's a joy to have you here.
I'm so excited. Thank you for the invitation.
You are the founder of the Young Law Group here in Las Vegas. You and your husband founded that?
Yes, in 2017. So we just celebrated 7 years.
Amazing.
Yes, I've been an attorney actually for almost 20 years now, which is hard to believe
Yes.
for me to conceptualize.
Well, you have quite the story, quite the background. So tell us a little bit about your story.
Sure. So I grew up here in Las Vegas. I actually met my husband in high school. So we're high school sweethearts. And we've been together since 1995. So it'll be 30 years next year. And we went to high school. We played sports. So he was a football player. I was a basketball player. And we both ran track. So we actually met at a track meet and have been together ever since. I graduated from Green Valley High School. He went to El Dorado. And I was a valedictorian, and then I went to Pepperdine for undergrad and graduated actually in 3 years, which was good timing. I graduated a year early because I was actually 5 months pregnant with my twins, our twins, who are now 24, about to be 24 years old. So it's amazing to kind of look back on those times, but we came back to Las Vegas after I graduated from Pepperdine, and both of our families are still here. So I took a year off from school and stayed home with our babies. They were born in August of 2000. And then in 2001, I started law school on their first birthday.
Wow.
So started law school. Thankfully, the law school is relatively new here, Boyd School of Law, and I was able to go to law school, have the support of my family. My husband was able to work, and I graduated from law school and got a job at one of the big firms, the big fancy firms. So that was exciting. And then I got into my, practice, and I was doing really well. But I knew that long term, there was something else that I was going to want to do.
Right.
I wasn't quite sure what it was, but I stayed in private practice for almost 10 years with 2 national firms. So I got really, really good experience. I had some really amazing mentors and, just had a lot of different exposure to different areas of the law that is not typical when you go to the big firms.
Right.
I did a lot of pro bono work. So I was volunteering, and my first ever pro bono case was actually a probate matter. So it involved, estate planning or the lack thereof,
Right.
or the pitfalls or how a plan can fail.
Yes.
So I saw this happen, and it just really opened my eyes as this young new attorney, like, oh my gosh, like how can this happen when someone actually hired an attorney? They had these documents, but things weren't done correctly. So that really was what piqued my interest in estate planning. And from there, I continued to do more pro bono work over the course of the years. And then I was actually a general counsel for a few years for a financial services company. And all of these things kept kind of popping up along the way, where I was assisting families that were dealing with, a loved one having passed away and not really knowing what to do.
Right.
So when I started my firm in 2017, I was like, okay, now I have the ability to really focus on the work that I'm really passionate about.
Wow. What a story. I love that so much. And I feel like because you're sort of like this package deal, you've got beauty, brains, and heart. And you can tell you have a passion for what you do, which makes sense because one of the things that stands out about you, because there's so many firms that are there for the same purposes, but you are big on relationships.
Yes.
And that's something that you pick up right away. And that is because of your passion for just genuinely helping people.
Yeah. And that was kind of the thing that I struggled with a little bit, being a lawyer and working in these big firms. And, there are certain expectations that you have in order to be successful. And so I was driven by, by these things, but then at the same time, I felt this pull in the other direction, where it was hard to balance, wanting to be successful and being successful, but not really feeling fulfilled with the work that I was doing.
Yes.
Yeah. So now I feel so blessed to be able to do the work that I really love, to be in the community, to be able to meet fabulous people like you to be able to create connections and relationships and really utilize our platform as far as the law firm to be able to do things like women decision makers, which I know you've attended, and that's been part of our connection in the community as well.
So what I love about women decision makers is that it is an opportunity for women and even men, because men are welcome to join there too, for women to come and network and connect, but you are also intentional about having a panel of women come on and share about a specific subject.
Right.
And when I first attended my first women's decision maker event, I was blown away. I'm like, I walked away from there with so many nuggets, and then I went to the next one. And what inspired women decision makers?
Yeah, so as I was doing my work as an attorney and having our law firm, which focuses on estate planning primarily, and then we also do business planning. Business owners are a lot of our clients, families, business owners. So there's a nice integration there for business owners to be able to make sure that all of these things are taken care of. And we also do personal injury. So on the estate planning side, we were seeing that women were the ones that were kind of being the driving force behind their families getting these affairs in order. And women in particular tend to be the ones now, where we are kind of in our society, that are, caring for our families, where we might have children, young children, as we were talking about earlier. And we're caring for the younger generation, but then we've got the older generation, which we were also talking about, our parents, our grandparents, our uncles, our aunts. And so we're in this balancing act of trying to make sure that we're taking care of, everyone else. And we're often outliving our male counterparts. And so we need to make sure that we have things structured in a way that makes sure that we're not putting our families at risk, so that we do protect the assets and the wealth that we're creating during our lifetime, that we're setting our children up for success, the next generation. If we're wanting to make sure that we avoid probate, if you want to avoid taxes, there's all these things that we need to be doing now to make sure that these things are taken care of the right way. And so because I was seeing so much of that, where, women were primarily the ones kind of pushing that mission forward, I just thought it would be such a great idea to create a community of women, an ecosystem where we can come together and we can support one another. We can be personal resources, professional resources. We can do business, within our group, and really just uplift each other. And I also felt a duty because I am a mother, I'm a wife, of course, a mother of 5 daughters. And so I want to be able to show my girls that this is how women, should create this bond, sisterhood.
Yes, absolutely. Modeling for the next generation what a woman of strength looks like.
Yes, exactly.
I love that. Yes. And I feel like I wasn't given one moment of instruction in school about those matters. What happens legally, financially, when somebody passes away. And it isn't unless you have people intentionally speaking into you, some people aren't introduced to those matters until it's too late and something tragic happens. So what is, if you know the statistics of people today who are prepared versus those who maybe are not?
Yeah, it's pretty scary. It's about 70% of people do not have an estate plan in place. And so many people don't even really know what an estate plan is to be able to, move the ball forward. So, those are things that I educate on, like, okay, what is an estate plan? It really is a plan that addresses all types of contingencies. If you're in an accident, if you're hospitalized, if you're incapacitated, who can step in and talk to your doctors, make your medical decisions, take care of your children if you have minor children, take care of your pets. What happens to your assets after you've passed away? You know, who handles your financial affairs? All of these things need to be planned for.
Yeah.
And if they're not done properly and it's not comprehensive, it can end up where your family is in conflict. They have to go to court. They have to pay a bunch of fees. They have to pay taxes. And so we want to make sure that we're educating and empowering our community to be able to avoid those things and really put a proper plan in place, not just, you know, check something off your to-do list, but really put a plan in place and establish a relationship. You know, as you mentioned, it's important for us to have that relationship established and continue on as things change, because, you know, our lives change and the laws change.
That's right. That's right. So, and usually for a person to go and even sit down and go over this and set it up, it's can be a big fee for people to pay. So, and that's one of the things I think that you guys offer, especially for those who attend Women Decision Makers, but also through your pro bono work, is well, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So one of the things that we offer is a complimentary session.
Right.
So this is available, and it's potentially 2 hours with an attorney. So either myself or another attorney in our office, where we'll sit down one-on-one, or you and your spouse, you know, will come in and we'll talk through where things are. And before the meeting, you'll actually complete a family profile. We also ask that you watch a webinar. So it's a 60-minute video, which really gives you the ins and outs of, you know, estate planning 101. Right. You know, what it is, the common mistakes people make, the things that you want to consider, the important decisions that you're going to want to make as part of your plan. And that's available 24/7, that video, by the way. It's on our website, so I can share that with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll share it with you.
And so once they come in, we go through the session. You know, I do an analysis of what would happen based on the planning that's in place as of right now. So if you do have an estate plan, I'll review it and I'll let you know, okay, so this is how things are. So this is a common thing, right? People will put their estate plan in place and then, you know, we get busy, life happens, we don't review it, we don't update it.
That's right.
Right? Or we think that things are taken care of. And so I do have a lot of those moments where clients are like, oh my gosh, I had no idea that this wasn't set up this way. Or, you know, they just had other ideas about what was actually, you know, in their plan.
Right.
So if you don't have a plan, which is the majority of people, you know, about 70% don't have any planning, then we'll go over what the state's plan is, you know, the default plan. And most people are not very happy with that either, right? So that's where it can be really expensive. It can take a long time. If you've got to go through probate, which the majority of the estates do, then it's very expensive and it takes a long time, you know, usually a year and a half, 2 years or more. And it's public. So a lot of people don't realize that probate, you know, that this course that you kind of set your family on by default, we're volunteering our families for this if we don't have a plan.
Right.
It ends up being so much more costly. So I think that what you mentioned is a real fear for people as far as like, oh my gosh, to put an estate plan in place, it's going to cost a lot of money. And it really just varies on what type of planning you want and what you need. So we do, everything is customized, you know, so we've got different types of plans, different levels of plans, and I walk you through the options and I make recommendations based on where you are and what you've expressed as far as your goals. So it really is, you know, meant to be tailored. You know, and that's how estate planning should be. Right?
Absolutely, because not one. It's not cookie cutter. Everybody's a little bit different, have different circumstances and situations, and like you said, things change over time. For us, when we first sat down and the concept was brought to us, what happens if you both pass away?
Right.
Who are your kids going to? And I was like, oh my gosh, like, it's hard to wrap your mind around that, because of course these people would be good, but they're getting older. These people would be good, but you know, how is this situation going? So it really does take a lot of time to sit there and think about just that aspect of it. But and then as time grows and you maybe you start a company or a business, and those types of factors can come into play. And I just think it's incredible, and just the relationship aspect of it is what genuinely sets you apart. And the Women's Decision Makers is such a great community that you've created. And the fact that you do it with your family. I mean, I met your mother.
Yeah.
I love your mother.
Yeah. She'll probably be there next week.
Oh my gosh, I need to. So I think the last time I was there, she's like, "Can I get a picture with you?"
Yeah.
I was Mrs. Mountain's Edge at that time.
Yeah.
So next, if I see her, I want to get a picture with her.
Right.
I'm going Shane's mom.
I know she's going to want to get an updated photo now that you've got your
Oh, the
official
crown.
title. Yeah.
But I just love her. She looks like the happiest mother and grandmother in
She's
the
very
world.
proud.
And your family, it's a family affair.
Yes.
They're all there.
Mhm.
So what is the vision, maybe as a family or for Young Law Group? I know you said your girls were in, your twins, your oldest girls
Yes.
are in law school. What is the
Yes.
plan? What's the vision?
So the plan really, and when we started the firm, so I talked about my husband earlier. So from the time that I was in law school, Charles knew that we were going to start a law firm and have our own firm. I wasn't so sure because I was just a little, I was just very more hesitant about it because my dad was an entrepreneur and had some really tough experiences.
Yeah.
And I really shied away from it and was just like, okay, I'm going to go to school. I'm going to get a good job. I'm going to work at this big firm. We'll have stability for our family. We already had kids at the time. And he was just like, yeah. Well, at some point we're gonna have our own firm.
Yeah.
And he's not a lawyer, although he probably should be. He probably should have gone to law school. So he runs our business. He's our CEO, COO, CMO. He kind of handles all of the operational aspects of the firm, which is really nice because I can focus on being a lawyer.
Right.
And then we, of course, work together as business owners. And it's just really nice to have him as a partner, not just in our marriage and in life, but in business, because he's somebody that I can trust.
100%.
Yeah. So that is just so priceless to me. And we have a vision, together as partners to be able to create this firm and legacy for our children. And thankfully, we've got at least two that will be lawyers that chose this path. We weren't quite sure how it was going to work out, whether any of them were going to want to, become lawyers or go into this field. And so our oldest daughters are about to start their second year of law school here. So they are legacy students, and we're the first mother-daughter legacy with Boyd. So it's really exciting. It's surreal to see them, and they're flourishing. They're so successful. They've won awards. They're top of their class.
Like their mother.
Yeah. I would say that they're even smarter than I am, and they've been able to really utilize the opportunities and the resources available. I was really having to figure things out along the way because I didn't really know any. I was the first lawyer in my family,
right?
And so I'm grateful that they have a different experience, and that really is the vision: is to create this legacy as far as our business, for our family, but also be able to help create legacies and secure legacies for all of the families that we're able to assist, and business owners likewise. So that's really the goal, and I hope to be able to continue to do it for years to come, for generations to come, and to be able to expand, and do things on an even larger scale.
Oh gosh, I just got chills because I could totally see it.
Yeah.
When it comes to raising 5 daughters, what is the biggest thing that you and Charles have been intentional about when it comes to raising them or instilling into them?
Yeah, so this actually came up in a conversation that we had this morning, funny enough. And, we hear a lot about nepotism, right? And even in the recent kind of celebrity example of LeBron James and Bronny James, right? For Charles and I, we were the firstborn, so we're the oldest, and we really were just, we had to figure things out a lot on our own. And we thankfully have always had a very aligned vision as far as what we wanted, as a couple and for our family. And as we had our children and we were raising them and, we were successful in our careers, we have always instilled in them the value of hard work and discipline. And so with our oldest girls, for example, our twins, when they were in high school, they went to Gorman. So they went to a private school, and we said, look, we're making this investment into your future, and our expectation is that you do your best in academics, they play basketball, and you find a way to get to college on your own. So I'm not paying for college, and I don't care how much money you think we have. It's just not happening. So you have the ability to go and get scholarships, and you've just got to work for it.
Right.
So that's what they did. They played varsity basketball all 4 years. They got scholarships to go to college. They played collegiate basketball. They graduated with double majors, and then they took the LSAT. They did really well. They applied to law school, and they got scholarships to go to multiple law schools.
Wow.
And thankfully, they chose to come here.
I think that speaks volumes about the example that you and your husband have set in your home, that you have children that want to follow in your footsteps. Because, you know, success, a lot of people view success through one lens, and that's maybe just the financial lens, when it's really many aspects of life, every area of life. And a lot of children grow up to not want to do anything that their parents did. I want nothing to do with it. I never saw my parents, or they were, you know, developed bad habits, whatever.
Right.
And that's something that's beautiful too about being a family who is working together towards one vision and one goal. You're building a future together rather than building separate careers and lives apart, which drives a division in the family unit, which if you see today, there's such division in that area of life in many households, which is really sad to see.
Yeah, and I think it can be difficult to balance, you know, and there have been times where we've had to focus a lot of our time and attention, you know, on the business, like when the pandemic happened.
Right.
You know, a lot of people paused because they couldn't work, or they couldn't, you know, we couldn't do certain things. Well, our business, because we were essential, you know, we continued, and we skyrocketed, you know, as you can imagine, because people were more in touch with their mortality, and they were seeing what was happening, you know, because people were getting sick, and so we never really had that downtime. And that was also a time where our younger 3 children in particular were like in very, you know, middle school stages, and elementary school for one of them. And it was hard to, like, you know, balance, you know, focusing on the business and serving, you know, in that capacity, but then also being there to make sure that our children were, you know, were well cared for, and that they weren't slipping through the cracks. And, you know, so it's difficult to balance those things, but I think that our children have seen us, and we try to set the example of, you know, you can work really hard, and you can do well, and you can be of service, and you can have all these things. And the more that you come from a place of contribution and giving, the more that it ends up coming back, you know? And so I think that that's a problem where a lot of people struggle with this, like a scarcity mindset. And I did, you know, stepping into having my own firm, because as I mentioned, I was scared. I was fearful of failure, and, you know, knowing what can happen, you know, from my family's experience. And so I have had to work on that. And the more that I've broadened my mindset, and of course, I've had multiple people and experiences in my life since then that have been able to, you know, broaden that view for me. Primarily my husband, where he's like, Shane, like, you're good. Let's do this. Let's do, you know, and he's always thinking of things, you know, in color, where I kind of would be, you know, very black and white. So there's just been a lot of growth in that area for me, which I'm thankful for. And just to be able to be there and have the time with my family, and to be able to let them see that there are things that you can do, you know, even when you don't necessarily have things work out as you initially planned.
Because it's not going to all be puppy dogs and rainbows and it be perfect. A failure is a cornerstone of success. It's necessary for the growth.
And you're constantly learning. That's what it is.
Yes. And you're never going to get to a place where you know everything. You'll always be in a state of learning. Well, in closing, you know, when it comes to women who are viewing this, women who have plans and goals and dreams for their future, and they are watching you and everything that you've accomplished in your life, on top of the fact that you did that, having 5 girls, and you've been able to maintain,
never got that boy,
and have a beautiful, successful marriage, and you started a business, and you're passionate about what you do. What advice would you give to women out there who are maybe wanting to pursue and accomplish a taste of what you've accomplished?
Yeah. I think the important thing is to make sure that you really think about, what's important to you, and know that even if you have a plan, and because we all tend to, want to see things in a certain way, that sometimes when there's an opportunity that doesn't pan out or things don't go according to plan, many times it's for a better reason. There's another reason, there's another purpose, there's another opportunity that is on the other side of that, and to really just try to keep an open mind and be positive and be optimistic, because if you focus on or you dwell on the negative things, you're going to sink into that. And the more that you are open and positive and like really just work towards, these other opportunities that might be open for you or available, the more that you'll see will fall into place. So, just keep that open mind, and also just really rely on the support, the positive people that you have in your life, really, and not allow other people that might be energy
Vampires.
suckers.
Yes.
Because we all have that in our lives, and so you've got to kind of keep those people in their place and be able to focus on the things that you need to be able to really reach the levels of success that you want. And everyone's level of success is different, right?
Right.
Don't compare yourself to, someone else that you're watching, like, oh my gosh, well, she can do all of these things. And I see that a lot where people will say that, like, oh, well, how do you do this and that? And I can't do any of it. And it's like, no, but we're not the same. Like, we each have our individual gifts, and we have different things. Like, I'm not good at everything. I don't have all of the things that I would like to be able to have and do, but, I just kind of trying to lean into the things that do bring me joy and that I do tend to be good at.
Oh, I love that so much. It falls so much in alignment with how my journey in pageantry started, because I have never done this before until it was introduced to me, and I almost held myself back because I compared myself to all of the things I'd read about the women who'd gone before me, and I was like, I'm just a mom. And then same thing, I had to remind myself that in itself is a big job, and not everybody can do it. They maybe want to, but they can't, and some of them just don't have the patience for it.
Right.
And it was my dream to be able to do that.
Yes.
And you're never just one thing. My friend Nicole reminded me that you're never just one thing, and we're never going to be in the same stage of life.
Right.
It will evolve and change. And now that we're done having babies, and my youngest is going to be old enough to go to school, there's free time now.
Right.
My husband's starting a brand new mortgage company, and we're like, how can I come alongside you and do this together? We want to do exactly what you were talking about. The idea of being able to build a future and a legacy together, that our kids, if they choose, have something to fall back on. I love that. That fires me up.
Yeah. And I think what you said is actually really, really important, because and this is another thing that I try to remind, like, at women decision makers, is like, we are often the ones that are standing in our own way. You had seen these women, in pageants, and you didn't think that this would be something that you would be able to accomplish. And it would have been really easy for you to sit on the sidelines and be like, okay, that's something that I just won't, I won't ever be able to do.
Right.
But then look at what happens. You put yourself out there, you won the crown, and you're a testament to that exact point. Is, we won't ever know what we'll be able to accomplish if we don't try.
That's right. And from that was born this podcast, this platform, Women of Strength. And because we wanted to make it about women. And exactly what you said, we all have our own things that we're good at that make us special, something that we do maybe a little bit better than somebody else. So stop focusing on what they do better, and look at yourself and what you can do, and live in your own strengths. And that was something we wanted to highlight with this, and how special women are. And we can get in our way, and this is about encouraging you out there to not only be planning for your future, but to also know how amazing that you are,
Mhm.
and that you can accomplish things if you really put yourself and are intentional in the way you go about doing it. There's a community of women who are out there to empower and uplift,
Yeah.
who know that you can do it.
Mhm.
And that's one of the things I love about what you have created with Women's Decision Makers. So
Well, thank you.
the next one is next week.
Yes.
But when the schedule, there's a schedule of
Yes.
these events. So what are those?
Yeah, so we do this event every other month. So the odd months, so January, March, May, July, and so forth. It's usually the last Wednesday of the month in which we're having the event, except for November,
Right.
because that's when we, because of Thanksgiving. So we do it a week before Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So I don't have the dates. Well, I have the dates for the rest of the year would be September 25th, I believe, and then November 20th, and then whatever January and so forth. The venue for the rest of the events for this year is Via Brazil.
Yeah.
So another woman business owner. So we like to be able to collaborate and support other businesses in the valley as well.
It's great food.
Yes.
But you get to go and be intentional and hear other women talk, network, but you also get fed.
Yes. So we'll eat brunch after the event. So the event will be from 9 to 11 a.m. And then at 11, we'll have brunch. And my firm sponsors it. So it's a complimentary event.
Fantastic. All right. And I will be promoting that every time they come up. And so I will be at next week's on July 31st. That's right?
Yes.
Yes. And then the rest of the dates you just mentioned. So Shane, it's been a joy to sit here and really chat with you really for the first time.
I know.
Because we chatted at your events, but everyone wants to take pictures with you. And I'm like, I'll just get her really quick.
Yeah. No, thank you so much. I've been looking forward to this, and I'm excited about us being able to continue, our collaborative efforts with, you having this platform, and really joining forces. So I'm excited. Oh, and by the way, the website for the event for the Women Decision Makers is ylgwdm.com. So YLG for Young Law Group, WDM for Women Decision Makers.com. And the on-demand webinar is also available on our main website, which is younglawlive.com.
Perfect. We will post that on there. And Mark's good at putting those in the captions. Cool. We'll do that.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you, Shane.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.